Hello, and welcome to Meet the Author Battle of the Bands Anthology. We're so excited to have you. This project was made possible in part by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. My name is Lauren Gibaldi, and I am one of the editors of Battle of the Bands. I'm also a librarian here at the library, so hi. With me today is everyone, and I'm going to stop being a librarian. But so we're here to celebrate our book. Again, my name is Lauren, and I'm one of the editors. With me tonight is...
Oh, hi. I guess I'll go. My name is Eric Smith. I'm one of the co-editors with Lauren of Battle of the Bands, our anthology of interconnected stories set at one school's Battle of the Bands night. And we're joined by two of the contributors.
Hi, I'm Ashley Woodfolk. I wrote You Found Me in Battle of the Bands. I'm also the author of a couple of other contemporary YA novels, and I'm including When You Were Everything, which Eric is delightfully holding up right now. And I'm excited to be here.
Hello, I am Shaun David Hutchinson, and I am one of the contributors. I wrote Love is a Battlefield, and I'm just really happy to be here. I've written a bunch of other books, whatever. I mean, I wrote We're the Ants. And at this point, it's so hard to just be like, yeah, I just wrote books. I'm not going to talk. Like, but it was so much fun working with y'all. And I just want to say that like right off the bat, like it was such a fun thing to do. So, yeah.
So Eric and I edited. We also both had stories in it as well. Mine was Set Your World on Fire. My character was the stage manager of the entire Battle of Bands. And Eric?
And mine was called... mine was called Three Words. That's the name of it. It's about a once famous pop punk teenager who is now finds himself not famous anymore and attending high school and trying to be anonymous. And as he gets on stage to try to compete in the Battle of the Bands, realizes that maybe someone knows who he is.
So Battle of the Bands is exactly what Eric said. It's a one-night Battle of the Bands. Instead of being a kind of normal anthology where every story stands on its own, this does have that. Every story does stand on its own, but they all build together. They all kind of interweave to make one Battle of the Bands. So everyone's either a different band or supporting member. Ashley has a band in the story that's competing, and Shaun's one of our judges. So we were able to kind of create this anthology that all reads together as one story, which was really fun.
Yeah.
It came about in a really wild way, which makes me really happy. Lauren and I were at a book festival in Louisiana. The Louisiana Book Festival 3 years ago now. I don't even know what time it is anymore.
Yeah, time's a lie.
I don't know what year it is.
Yeah, it was like 2 a.m. in an airport. And we were talking about what ideas we had and what we were kicking around next. And we were with Katie Katungo, who's also in the anthology, and Karen McManus. And Lauren brings up this book idea. And I really wanted to be in it.
And I didn't want to write Battle of the Bands as just like my book and I write a bunch of bands because I wouldn't know how to write a bunch of bands or how to do it. I wanted it to be an anthology, and I wanted to do it with Eric because I had no idea how to do an anthology, and he had done anthologies before, thankfully, as both an agent and an editor. And also Eric and I have a very strong shared love of pop punk music and ska, so it's kind of a natural fit.
Admitting your love of ska, like
I mean, it's only for you. But Eric agreed to do it with me, and we were just super jazzed. And from there, we managed to get a roster of like the best authors ever. I'm pretty sure. Like, yeah. I love our authors.
I mean, I agree.
I mean, factually, the best authors ever.
I mean, like, I've read the stories, so yeah, like, I totally agree with that. Like, it's just amazing.
I was floored with the stories that came in. Floored. Like, Ashley's made Eric cry instantly. And
Well,
it was
that's not
gorgeous.
that hard to do.
Wow.
Look, it's not hard to make me cry either. So I say that with love. We are emo siblings.
I mean,
and it's funny, we're talking about like the music and pop punk bands and all of that. And like one thing Lauren and I really wanted to do when we were putting the book together was like purposely reach out to people that we knew had some kind of tie to music, throughout their teen years, throughout their now years, in the books that they have written. And just a quick aside, one of the people that we ended up getting in the book was Justin, the lead singer of Motion City Soundtrack, which was I
really
love
cool.
that story. I love it. It was super cool to have him in it because everyone in the book listens to his music. But it was also a wonderful example of just shooting your shot once in a while when you have a wild idea. Like I messaged him on Facebook to be like, hey,
Wow.
Mm-hmm. How you do things.
I'm like a real person that does book stuff. Like, can we talk? He turned out to be the nicest guy imaginable. Now we talk to him all the time. So yeah, if you're thinking about doing something and it feels a little risky, just say hi.
Shoot your shot.
Yeah. But when it comes to music and music connections and stuff, like what's everyone's ties to music and how did it influence you in your writing? I
can go because I feel like mine is the shortest. I'm not a musician. I've always just been kind of like a groupie. I was the one who was always at all the basement shows. Like, funnily enough, like I went to Rutgers, and so I was at all those New Brunswick basement shows with like the Christmas lights, I went to Warped Tour multiple times by myself because I didn't know a lot of people who like the same music as me. And I've just always been like a rabid, fan of live music and a lover of all things emo, all things pop punk, all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, even my first novel is about a band, and like, it's just a part of me. It's something that I honestly think I will always write about at least a little. I'm just one of those people who just like loves music so much, even though I'm not technically a musician myself.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it shows how much like you're in the scene from your writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a musician either. Like, I mean, like I'm trying to learn to play piano, and it's going really well. Except I have a terminal case of like no rhythm. So like I can read the notes and I can play the notes, but then it's like rhythm. What's that? So like I play piano the same way I dance badly, and but like music is like has always like I've always had this like really strong connection, to music, and like it played this huge part when I was writing my memoir, my YA memoir, and so it was like everything from like the first concert I ever saw was Natalie Merchant, but then it was like Natalie Merchant and then straight to like, oh my gosh, now I'm completely blanking. Less Than Jake, and I mean,
Florida.
and it was like exactly, right? Like if you lived in Florida in the 90s, you saw Less Than Jake at least once. It's just the law. And so it was like, but I have like this really like randomly broad like love of music, everything from pop punk and like a weird story, like the 5 Stages of Andrew Brawley, the original title for it was The Walls, which was inspired by the Something Corporate song Caves. And it was actually Jack's Mannequin, but I always think of him as Something Corporate either way.
I mean, yes.
And so it's just, and so when I was writing Dane's story, The Judge, I like specifically was like, I want to write someone who's not interested in music at all, just to like see, like you can clearly tell he knows about music, but he doesn't like, he thinks he's like above it all.
Yeah.
So it was a weird thing to do, to be like, I don't like music at all. but fun.
Dane was great though.
I love Dane.
Yeah.
He was a little weirdo.
I like the whole playing with the idea of a person who sort of just like stumbles through life and like things just happen to them.
Yeah.
And they kind of just like roll with it. But then he has his great moment where he sort of makes a decision and like makes something happen. So I liked Dane a lot.
He was fun to write. And honestly, like, you know, Lauren and Eric brought something really great out of him, you know, out of that character, you know, because in the first draft he was kind of a jerk. Like at the end, like the first draft of the story, like he literally just like walks out of the auditorium without making a decision and just kind of like goes, screw it, I'm not going to do this. And it was like, that's not probably the best thing to do.
That's what editing is for.
Yeah.
But you ended up choosing a winner, and that was good. Being in Orlando, I also saw Less Than Jake, I think 2 or 3 times when I was a teenager. Because again, it's like them and New Found Glory, like you had to see them, or you just weren't an Orlando teen in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I mean, so I grew up, I went to high school here, and I loved the scene, the pop punk scene. I wasn't allowed to go to the shows on my own because downtown Orlando was a little scary when I was in high school. But then I got friends who took me, and that was exciting. And my one experience with music is I wasn't good at it, but my friends and I wanted to create a band, an all-girl band for our high school Battle of the Bands, because there hadn't been an all-girl Battle of the Bands band. So we did, and we had one gig, and it was that Battle of the Bands, and we never played again. We were not good, but we're very proud of it to this day. So Candid Apple lives on for that one show. But I love it, and I wrote a lot about music in my first book, The Night We Said Yes. It was, you know, it dealt with a band and them performing at the end, and that's kind of how Eric and I originally bonded. Was he got an advanced copy of it, and we were both like, we like the same music, and geeked out in like 2014.
And there we are, good friends working on books together. I love it.
And Eric, your connection?
Oh, that's right. I have to explain it now that I asked that question, didn't I? So I played in ska bands when I was in high school and college, and even went on a couple of tiny little tours. And the weird thing about like playing in bands as a kid is that it kind of indirectly led me to writing and wanting to be published, because I started taking a lot of photos of the bands that like my band would play with, or I would get backstage passes and I would take pictures. And those pictures ended up getting published a lot in like alternative press and different magazines. And that, I don't know, something about like seeing my name printed somewhere kind of did something. And now here we are with a Battle of the Bands. There's also a funny thing in the back with the author bios. Everyone had a cute little thing about their connection to music in there. In my bio, it says, Eric Smith is an author and literary agent who was once booed at a high school talent show while playing Third Eye Blind on the guitar, which is true. As a true story. I tried to play Third Eye Blind with a couple of my friends, and we did very badly, and we were booed. But now, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm that much of a Scorpio that I remembered it for 20 years and then did a book, but maybe.
But maybe.
I like how Justin's bio was like, he's in a band. He did not write about being in a band. His story is not a band.
Also, Eric, you should tell everyone that we have like a weird random connection too, related to music.
Is it your husband?
It's my husband's older. So my husband's older brother was in a band that played alongside your band or something, like at the same time.
In college together, and yeah, I bet I've like hung out with your husband at a VFW hall concert or something.
Right, like just oh no, my husband was not there, 100% not. But his brother was there because it's so funny. Me and his brother like bonded over music because we listened to all the same stuff, but my husband does not listen to any of that.
Oh no,
at all. But my brother-in-law for sure, yeah, Wes was definitely there.
Oh, that's so funny.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We have a question that I want to get to. If anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll see them. But I thought this one was really interesting from Jamie. Do you have a specific role set up in advance, or did you like contributors choose their topic and character band once they were accepted into the anthology? Which is actually a great question. Eric, would you like to go about that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple of things in mind, when we sent out our emails to the contributors, we thought it would be fun to have someone write about like a ticket taker. It might be really cool to have someone up in the lights and on the stage. But what ended up happening was so many contributors just pitched us their ideas and who they might like to talk about, like Shaun, I think yours was one of the first pitches that came in saying that like, oh, I'd love to write about a kid who's a judge at the concert and maybe
What
dating.
do you think of that?
What was actually because I edited Violent Ends, which was a shared world anthology. And so I know like how very complicated and difficult it would be. And so I thought, well, if I write a thing, writing a character who's a judge, it would allow you all, like, if you needed like, certain things to be viewed, or if you needed, like connections to be made, like I could just sort of like offer my story as like, hey, whatever you need, put in if you need anything, because I draft really fast and also I don't know. I think I would be really bad writing about a band itself, because I've never been in one. I don't know.
I've never been in one either, but I feel like it's the FOMO that like guides my hand. It's like, if you were in a band, what would you want it to be like? Write that.
I mean, I would probably be like one of the, it would just be like me and my guitar just being really sad. It would just be
That's
like,
You're
I'm
dashboard
Shaun.
confessional now.
But without like, I mean, like I can carry a tune, but I can't like sing well. So yeah, it would just be like, I'm Shaun and this song's going to make you cry. Like that would be it.
Oh my God.
I want that album.
That's me too.
Picturing that first band in Scott Pilgrim versus the World where they're like love sucks on the guitar and that's over.
Ashley, how did you come up with yours? Your band is Safe and Sound?
Yeah, so I don't know. I've definitely had the experience of being a little bi girl and like not realizing I was bi and having a crush on a girl and a guy at the same time and not really knowing what to do. So that was like sort of the seed of the story. But I felt like I really wanted to write about, I am haunted by the breakup of the Civil Wars.
You're a good band.
It like bothers it, like to this day I can't get over it, and it's been years, and like I've always wondered like what happened. And like they've never come forward and said it, and so I've always wanted to write about a 2-person band and like what the dynamic would be like and how they would like sort of shift and like work around each other, and if they had like such a musical connection, how that could blossom into some other kind of connection, and like what would happen if that did happen and the other person was already connected to someone else, because both members of the Civil Wars are married to other people. And so I just like, I don't know, I always like wanted to play around with that, so that was sort of where that came from.
I love it.
Yeah.
we threw your band in I think it was Jen Marie Thorne's story, because her, like the lead singer in her story, kept like bashing. Her description was like, I gotta get to sound check before Safe and Sound, and like his entire band is like tired of him talking about Safe and Sound. And when Jen wrote it, she didn't know any of the band names, and she just had in parentheses the best band that's competing. So, like, throw in Safe and Sound every time.
That's so funny. I also like, it's like make sense that you would slot me in there, because so many of the other bands are like in the midst of like falling apart.
Yes, they are. Like Shaun, you said you didn't write bands, but you wrote 2 bands into your story.
You
like,
did.
You created 2 very chaotic bands.
Yes, but it worked.
Worked so well.
It was funny because I was thinking about like when I was writing, like I did it with the judges too, is I just wrote characters that I was kind of expecting that you all would be like, oh no, we have other things to slot into here. And so when I wrote like this weird, like she was like a reality, an Instagram influencer who just like randomly is like texting him like her food order. Yeah. I was like, oh, they're going to cut this out. And then you kept it. And I kind of love that you kept it because it was so absurd.
And that was you have the Marsha Marshes, and your other one is Breakfast of Champions.
Yes.
And we added Pretty's girl as your drummer for that. No, your bassist for that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Brittany's girl as your drummer for that.
Yes.
I have an Excel spreadsheet of how everyone connects.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
That's so funny.
Your organization for this book was amazing.
I was gonna say, like, so I was also a contributor to Blackout,
and which is gorgeous. That book is phenomenal.
But like, there's only 6 of us, and like that was complicated because we were like, wait, whose cousin is like this person's brother? Like, what happened? Who's best friends with who? Like, what's going on? And like, we also had like a document with like everything listed or whatever. But like, as I was like reading the finished product of Battle of the Bands, I was like, wow, like the fact that like these things are connecting, and I'm not remembering every single connection, but like I'm making the connections that matter. Like it was impressive. I'll say that.
16 stories. We had a very massive spreadsheet, and we just kind of, as anyone like brought up a character, we put them on the spreadsheet, and then some people had blanks, were like, oh, I just don't have a drummer for here. So I was like, okay, we were able to connect them in. And then Shaun, like you said, your story was just like the judge, so I can add people in the background of that. And then my story is the stage manager, so I was able to kind of connect. I connected to Eric's story.
A lot of stories.
I wrote mine
almost
last.
all of them.
Yeah. So I connected to Eric's, and then Orlando author Jenny Torres Sanchez is one of my best friends. So I made her story kind of merge into mine. And she's the ticket taker because we all have our little jobs. So kind of to bring it to the question, we didn't tell anyone to do anything. Everyone did everything.
Yeah.
And it all kind of worked out, which was really amazing. I think that's what made it easy for Eric and I, is that like all the stories came in awesome.
I'm actually really curious, like dovetailing off of that question that we had, because one of the things I found with Violent Ends was some of the connections that writers made like blew my mind. Like, did you all have like connections between stories that you were just like where did this come from? This is amazing. Like, or that like surprised you? I'm really curious about this.
Brittany and Jeff's probably, right?
Yeah. Brittany and Jeff, their stories that bookend each other in the collection surprised me a ton because they sent them at the same time. They kind of worked on them together a little bit in secret, and I kind of wanted the whole novel about those two sisters and like what they went through. I loved that, and then I loved some of like the running jokes that happened throughout the entire story. Like you see that bassist that may or may not be on drugs in Justin's story.
Yes,
he pops up.
All over the place.
And the teacher who's doing the dad jokes on stage.
I think you named him, and then Ashley turned him into an actual Ashley Poston turned him into an actual character. What's the story behind his name, Eric?
So I made Mr. Bolivar in my short story as like a placeholder because there's a guy, Miguel Bolivar, who has been my best friend since we were 8. Who's a music teacher, and I was like, oh, I'll put Miguel in there. That's a good placeholder, and I forgot about it. And then Ashley's Boston story came in with him as like a character, and I was like, oh well, I guess we're doing this. Yeah, Miguel is in there.
Awesome.
These things are really funny how they happen. I was telling Eric how my story, it set the world on fire because there may or may not be fireworks, and I based it off of someone who was in Orlando who may or may not have let fireworks in our high school auditorium when I was in high school, and I needed a placeholder name, so I just put Ben as the name. And I forgot to take it out. So I got to text him and be like, hey, you're in my book. Sorry. So I'm going to bring him a copy. Thankfully, we're still friends. And these things happen. Let's see. I think we have a few more questions that I wanted to go to. We've got, what was the writing process for you all while writing the stories? Did you play music while you wrote them that served as inspiration for the book? I think music kind of weaves in and out. Did anyone have anything?
Yeah.
We created a playlist.
Yeah, we had a playlist that went live of like a lot of the music everyone was listening to. For me, I was listening to a lot of the like pop punk and emo bands I had grown up with as like a teenager. So there was a lot of like The Starting Line. I had Finch in there. A lot of Drive Thru Records bands. Because like a lot of the inspiration of my story with this kid who used to be in a famous like punk band who now isn't anymore and is trying to be normal, is taken from the fact that like I knew a lot of bands that got like semi-famous and now aren't famous anymore, and I was always really fascinated to find out like what happened to them. And you know, a lot of them are computer programmers now or doing something like very not music. And I was always fascinated by that shift and how does that work for somebody. So yeah, lots of the pop punk in my youth. A lot of Yellow Card in there.
Ah, Yellow Card.
Yellow Card.
So good.
Anyone else have any? Oh, we've got a kid cameo. I love kid
Sorry.
cameos.
No, he's at the door. He's like screaming.
Mine are in the other room, so don't worry. Watching Wish Dragon, I believe. So
I don't know where my husband went.
We're fine. We're good. It's all good. Speaking of music, Jenny is here, and she's asking, what was your favorite band in high school?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like I went through phases.
Yeah.
I had like periods. So I feel like in 9th grade, it was Linkin Park. And
that was huge.
But that was like that was probably 10th grade because I think I was driving because I remember I would like drive. There was this straight shot road behind my house and I would like blast Linkin Park and like drive down there whenever I was angry. And I'm like, what was I angry about? I was 16. Like, I don't know.
We were all angry at 16.
But also like everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it was Linkin Park for 9th and 10th grade. In 11th grade, I feel like I got back into Blink-182. Like I was into Blink-182 and then I sort of got out of it for a while because I was like angry and angsty. And then I got back into it. And then I feel like by 12th grade, I had sort of like mellowed out a lot and I was listening to a lot of like Coldplay.
Okay.
Give it to you.
Right.
Yeah. And then in college is when I feel like I got more into like Taking Back Sunday and Brand New and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Shaun?
I think that if you had asked me in high school what my favorite band was, I probably would have said like Smashing Pumpkins and, you know, stuff like that. But like the truth would have been like Tori Amos, Natalie Merchant, like, you know, Howl. I mean, like I loved like Angry Women were like, I mean, seriously, like my honest to goodness favorite genre of music is, you know, songs written by women telling men to go screw themselves. Like that is like my favorite little selection of music. But yeah, no, I was very secretly back then, like listening to, you know, like Belly and, you know, Natalie Merchant and Tori Amos and but you know, in my car, when I would get in the car and I would turn it up, it would be all like, you know, Smashing Pumpkins, you know, so.
The song my band played in high school was Celebrity Skin. So
nice.
We also were whole friends. I started like kind of, there's also the progression. I started high school with like, I was a theater girl. So I just listened to theater musicals, Broadway musicals nonstop. But I wanted more. So I really liked, I guess I started with like No Doubt, and then it was Blink 182, but like Dude Ranch Blink 182, which I would tell everyone that I liked them before it was going on.
Yeah.
Because you had to.
Right.
So it was 100% Blink 182, and then back into like Green Day. But my all-time favorite was the Ataris. Like I loved the Ataris. I saw them as much as possible. I have like one of their guitar picks, and it's I still have it, and it's been like 20 years. It's fun. So they were my band that I adored, and then I got into more like I ended up really loving like Rilo Kiley as I went into college, which is a complete different theme, but
yeah,
I still adore them as well, even though Jenny Lewis has changed many times to different bands, but it's okay. Still love her.
Yeah.
Eric. Ska. Eric is just ska.
Yeah, there was ska, so there was like a lot of Less Than Jake and like Real Big Fish and like Goldfinger's early albums. But then like mostly like I would be spinning the Wallflowers, like Third Eye Blind, and I was one of those jerks that got into Jimmy Eat World when Clarity came out, you know, so like fuss about it when Bleed American came out and everyone was listening to the middle. I was like, oh no, I listened to them before so I was that guy.
There was like
I feel like I didn't get into that stuff until I was in college.
Same.
Like that was like when I sort of like my world expanded to like everything.
Yeah.
There were like a few like punk rock kids at my high school that I like clung to when I would discover them. Like I would see that different color hair going in the hallway, and I'd be like, I need to go.
Oh, I mean, I can't believe I forgot about Yellow Card. Like
Yellow Card.
I was obsessed with Yellow Card when I was in like 10th, 11th grade.
Yeah, one for the kids.
That was when I went to Warped Tour by myself.
It's okay.
And like dropped my water bottle when I saw the drummer like all over myself because I was so obsessed with him.
I made a friend in college because they were wearing a Yellow Card shirt, because I was nervous when you're a freshman and you don't know anyone and you're just like, shirt, they like a band I like. Let's be friends. That's how I made friends in college.
Yeah.
It was fine. There was another question. I love all the questions coming through, and I want to make sure we don't miss any of them. And this is from Georgia Parker, who several of us know. Is there an overarching theme that is woven through the stories? Ooh, I like this question.
I mean, I don't know if it was like intentional, but I feel like choice, like the theme of like choosing and making choices for yourself really came through in a lot of stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really neat. And actually, I was really happy to see so much like bisexual representation in this anthology, and like it was really kind of cool.
I was surprised. I was like, wait, another bi story? Wait,
there's several. There's several.
Not that I'm complaining, because there's not enough of it out there, but like I loved it. And like it wasn't like, I felt like none of the stories sort of fell into a lot of the, I don't know, stereotypes of like a bi person, right? Or if it did, it turned it on its head by the end. So yeah, I really like that. So yeah, you can choose, and also you can be bi.
Yes.
You don't have to choose. That's the moral of the story.
Like,
that's it. That was it.
Choice being at the core of the book, you know, because there's a lot of stories in here that are all about like finally speaking up for yourself, you know, in some way. You know, there's a lot of kids in the story that are like standing up to their own bands or standing up to someone in their family that doesn't want them to play music, and I love we have all these kids speaking up in this book.
And it felt, I think, when, you know, as we got all the stories in, it felt very youthful too, like in the best way. Like it felt like in a good way high school reading it. And I was just like, this is so relatable to like 17-year-old me. And I loved that. And I think it's, I don't know, I mean, I'm biased. I think it's wonderful. But I think all of the stories very beautifully showed that, you know, like the choices that you make and like that one moment that you want to like overcome. I don't know. I think every story had a similar kind of apex, which we didn't plan. which was cool. And I think they flowed well together in that way.
They
Oh,
did.
yeah.
We didn't plan a lot of it. It just kind of came about. There was a question I forgot earlier on about our editing process, and it was actually pretty straightforward. Like, you all sent us your stories. We looked at them and sent them back, which was cool. And like, it was very easy. We sent them to our amazing editor, Kaylin, and she also was just like, yay.
Looks good.
Touch up here and there where we would say like, oh, let's insert a character here, or can we put this person in this story? And everyone always said yes. So that felt a little easy too. And Ashley, you should know that there's people in the comments chiming in saying how much they like Blackout and the Beauty That Remains. And I thought,
Aw, yay. Thanks, guys. I don't know how to view the chat, so.
You're fine.
Oh, wait, I found it.
There's also someone, Veronica says that there's a whole write-up about the Civil War's breakup, which we all have to go look up after this event.
Oh
by
my
the way.
God, yes, I need to find it.
I just saw that. I'm like, I need to share. We are now all looking at the chat. But yeah, I mean, the editing process was pretty straightforward. Everyone was great, and especially, I think I mostly appreciated how everyone was so willing to. We're like, can you rename your teacher character to this just so it matches another story? And they're like, yeah. Or like, do you mind if I insert a drummer here? You need one now, apparently. And like, everyone was very cool with it, and. We should say that no one read the full book until it was mostly done.
The end, yeah.
Until the end. So there would be parts where I think, like with Shaun, like you asked how certain scenes went down, just so like Sarvana's scene. You wanted to know how her she has a whole situation where they're swearing, so they had to like pull the mic, so it didn't broadcast. So you were just like, you wanted to write it in, so we sent you blips.
Right. Yeah.
Did that work?
But no, it worked. Like, and and I love it because I think of it as broadening that world, and and that's kind of the cool thing about the usually when you do a short story, you don't have other people. It's like we all get to write fan fiction about everybody else's story in a weird kind of way, and I love that.
It worked. Yeah, and we were able to find fun ways to kind of have everyone come in together. Like, Ashley, your photographer pops up a few times too.
Yeah.
And Dane, I think the only one, sorry, not Shaun, I think the only one called you Dane that we couldn't get was
Dane. I'm Raven.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm Lily. I just named my characters the same first initial as my name, so I just, it's fine. Remember?
There's a bit of world building that happened as a result of Ashley's story that I think is interesting. So as the stories were coming in, we started crafting the world that these were set in. The school, we had to make up music magazines. Shaun had to make up a record store.
I was gonna say Shaun made the record store.
And one thing that kept coming up was where are all these kids putting their music, right? There's Pure Volume. That was when we were kids. I don't think that exists anymore. Maybe it does. We didn't want to do Bandcamp because that feels a little too insider music-y. So we ended up using Indie Trash was the name of the outlet that Ashley put together. And that ended up existing in all the stories. It's where people are putting their music. That's where people are hearing about local music. And that part was really fun, getting to build out this sort of imaginary
website magazine thing.
Yeah. It was all completely imaginary. It was your website, the record store, and then there was a record label. And a cool thing for those who haven't seen the book, Candlewick, our amazing designers at Candlewick, made us a fake poster for the Battle of the Bands. So it's as if it's actually at a high school and there's Battle of the Bands, and we have a date and a time. And then these are all of the bands in their order. And they even have little here we go. We're backwards. Little logos for everyone. So the record store that was created. Everyone has little logos now, which is really cute.
So cute.
So we have all of that, and then they had the little thing at the end where it's a destroyed flyer because the show's over. So poor flyer had its time and is being taken. But we love that because we suggested that as just kind of a throw in. We're like, can we get a flyer just so there's like a band listing? So if anyone did want to follow along, they knew, because the stories, how Eric and I place them are in order of the show. So like the first band that performed should be first, et cetera, et cetera. But if you did want to follow it, it could have been a little hard. So they did that for us. So
Cool.
Yay. And then we have another question. Did everyone get a word count ahead of time, or was there flexibility? Did we give you guys a word count?
I don't
remember.
If you did, I did not stick to it. I don't remember.
I don't think so. You know, like,
I don't think so.
I feel
Everyone's
like
stories end up being.
well, it's just like I feel like all of us have done anthologies before, and like usually like a short story in an anthology is like 5,000 words, 6,000 words. You know, they're never anything huge. So I don't feel like we ever had anyone. I don't think anyone sent one in that was like way too long or like way too short.
No.
You know?
Yeah, everyone's ended up being around the same length, which was also like kismet.
Eric, yours felt very short to me.
Ooh.
But maybe I just wanted more.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanted more. How dare you?
But that's a sign of a good story. Now he's just got to turn it into a book.
Right.
And it was such a good story.
It was.
Yeah, and you built the whole thing too, like a famous song that people knew about and would mention
Yeah.
other songs. So
Yeah.
that was really fun. What is the most challenging part of putting together an anthology? Well, Shaun, you can answer this as well, since you've edited ones, and Ashley, you were just part of Blackout, which is a New York Times bestseller. So we've all had our own hands at, editing and writing for anthologies, and I think each one has its own challenge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to sound silly, but finding the contributors is actually kind of hard. Like, you would think it's not, because like everyone wants to be in an anthology. Like, of course, anthology is really fun. But in this case, it had a theme. It was music. We wanted to find writers who were specifically into writing about music. And then you have to like also think with like your business brain when it comes to anthologies. It's like, okay, how many people have to be huge names? How many people can be a midlist person like me? Like how do we navigate that? And that part really sucks, because that hurts your feelings when you're thinking about that stuff. So it's kind of hard. You have to balance the art and the business at the same time when you're doing it, so someone will buy it.
Yeah. And you have to balance like the authors too, right? Because
Yeah.
like there are authors that I've wanted to work with because I've edited 2 anthologies, but like it just wasn't the right fit in terms of, the tone of the book and the tone of the other authors, which brings the business. Like if you need, your anchor, and you're just like, okay, well, it's hard. It really is like, it's a process.
2 other fantastic anthologies that you worked on.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Actually,
I would say speaking about Blackout specifically, that was pretty smooth. I would say the hardest part with that one was figuring out the connections and the ways to make the stories like blend, but still be individual enough that they stood on their own. You know what I mean? So I feel like that was the hardest part of that process. And then also specifically for Blackout, like scheduling anything is impossible. As you can imagine, with like these women, like it takes forever to find an hour when everybody's available. Like half of us have children. We're in different time zones. Like people are freaking busy. It's a pandemic. Like it's just like scheduling is impossible. So like for events or even scheduling a call where we all need to be there, that was harder than writing the book. That is continues to be harder than writing the book was. Yeah.
I think Eric and I tried to have like a FaceTime once and we never were able to. One FaceTime.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
And I think that's completely true. Trying to find time for everything and putting it all together. I think for ours, along with Eric said, getting all the best authors that were representative of everything that we wanted to showcase, was also the order. Like I remember specifically just like staring at the computer at one point, going, "I think it's messed up," and like knowing that. Like one band had to go on before this one, and then this had to happen after this thing, and I again, like I had to apologize to Preeti because she's a merch person throughout it, and her story is set up where she has a merch table, and she kind of says like, okay, this band's playing now in the background, this band's playing now, and I swear like 3 times I had to be like, hey, I know you said that band was playing. They're not playing there anymore. Can you change it up? And it's now a solo act, so you can't write that there was moshing. I'm sorry. Which she doesn't hate us. That's nice. So
I loved her story.
It was so funny.
I loved it so much.
It's called Merch to Do About Nothing.
Which is the best title.
The best title in the anthology, basically.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. All right. I think we have a few more minutes, so I'm just going to go with the last question that I see. If anyone else has a question, they can type them in, but because this is about music, what's been your go-to music band song these days during pandemic times? Oh. I mean, I'm with my kids a lot, so currently it's the Vivo soundtrack. Before that was the Coco soundtrack. The Barbie Princess Adventure soundtrack.
Okay.
I'm not cool.
No, I mean, look, okay, so when I got my 2020 Spotify, like, here's what you listen to in 2020, I was in the like 0.01% top Taylor Swift listeners. So that's what my 2020 looked like. 2021 has really been video game music.
Oh, cool.
Fair.
So, yeah, it's really not though. Like,
I like that. I listen to a lot of musicals, like a lot of music.
Yeah.
Like Waitress is a favorite one of mine.
Waitress is good.
Very good.
Jagged Little Pill. Let me see what else is on there. Dear Evan Hansen. I like the music, despite how terrible that movie trailer looks.
Oh God, it looks so bad.
So bad. The music,
makes me sad.
I mean, was there not somebody like a teenager who could have sang that? Like, I mean, or
even a younger looking adult. Like,
yes, because he's only like 29 though.
Okay, younger looking
like
than him.
Whatever they did, like it's I blame the makeup in whoever did his makeup because
and the hair.
Yeah,
like he looks older than me in that movie. Like,
he looks older than he looks when he has a beard.
They should have just given him a beard and
they should have just let him have his beard.
All I can think of is that whatchamacallit, that meme where it's like, hello, fellow students, and it's what's his name? Like that's all I can picture.
Buscemi. Yep.
Buscemi,
I think it's Eric's favorite.
Yes.
I keep pointing this way and my camera's this. I don't know.
Yeah, Eric is over there.
Eric's over there.
Way.
No, wait.
This way.
Yeah.
My camera's rotated, so there we go.
I guess all our cameras are rotated.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the way.
Here's Ashley.
I swear we all know our left from right. I
This is
swear
Eric.
we do.
I keep these things for story time.
Lord.
I actually still make the things when I need to remember fast because
Oh yeah.
I'm like left.
Good. Wait, Ashley, you didn't say what you were listening to.
Oh, honestly, so there's this song called Big Bright, and I'm not gonna remember the name of the band right now. But it's sort of like I've been listening to a lot of like EDM kind of like, cause I don't know, it makes me happy and everything's terrible. So like I mostly try to listen to happy music unless it's one of those nights when I'm like doom scrolling and like my room is dark and I just like want to be in the mood to be sad. But generally I've been trying to listen to like music that makes me happy. So that's a lot of like EDM. I love the song called Big Bright, and I have like a whole playlist that I've been playing on a loop. It's called High Notes. And I'm not going to remember like the songs that are on it, but Big Bright is the first song and it's good.
We're all going to go look for it now.
Yeah, you should listen to it. It's good. It's very dancey.
I want, before we go, I want everyone to shout out their upcoming books because there are upcoming books coming out. So promote them now, please.
I just finished a series called Fly Girls. The last one just came out a couple weeks ago. And next year in April, I have my first novel in verse called Nothing Burns as Bright as You.
Ooh, good title. I like that.
Which I already gushed you over the passage you shared.
Oh yes, it is. It's very gay.
It's beautiful.
So yeah, speaking of gays, I've got in 2 weeks on September 28th, I've got a book called Before We Disappear, and it is an ahistorical fantasy about a pair of gay magician's assistants who do some crimes in Seattle and during the 1909 World's Fair.
I love.
So cool.
I love.
Yeah, it was what a challenge because like I live like a mile from where it was held, and so I like had access to all of the stuff, and then the pandemic hit, and I lost all of my access,
Oh no.
and I still had to turn in the book.
Oh,
Shit.
oh,
Look,
not-
pandemic books hit different. Like I feel like all the books that are coming out next year, you guys are gonna be like, wow, everybody was like
Oh,
in a place.
like so
we were sad.
I've got another book coming out in February called Howl, and it's like it was the book I like created, wrote, and did during the pandemic, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's Shaun's like fun gay werewolf book," and I'm like, "Oh no, it is not."
It's a dark place.
Yeah, I can't wait to send it to you, especially because it's set in a sort of like a winter garden type town, but like winter garden as how it felt like in like the 90s, even though it's not set in the 90s. It's very southern Florida.
I love.
Yeah.
I need to read it now.
Yeah,
I love.
I will send.
summer.
Yeah. It's you'll recognize a lot, but anyway, yeah, no, pandemic books are something else.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. Sean used to live in Florida for those
Yes.
watching. So, Eric.
So my next book comes out in November. It's called You Can Go Your Own Way. It is a YA rom-com about two former friends turned rivals turned lovers in a snowed-in pinball arcade set in Philadelphia, full of
I love it.
pinball references and old classic rock. And that was my pandemic book, where I just like decided to write something wildly happy and fluffy, and that's what helped get me through things.
I have it, and I'm. And then Eric and I have another anthology coming out. Which we're starting to. It's another interwoven one called Freshman Orientation, which is about the first day of moving into college. So all the stories are going to be about moving in, making friends, all of that. So we're slowly getting those stories in and starting to make our spreadsheet. So we are very excited about that. And everyone's books are available at the library. So buy them or check them out from OCLS because, I love promoting them. So keep checking them out so I can continue promoting them.
Yes, support your library.
Yes.
Best places on earth.
Yay. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming. We really appreciated you listening to us talk about Battle of the Bands. Thank you, Eric, Ashley, and Shaun for joining me at my library and for being in our book. And it's out now, so buy it or check it out. OCLS also carries it. And and thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you both.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to be the first to find out when we have new fun and informative videos for you. Orange County Library System is your place to learn, grow, connect.